you've got his bio here. I'm not going to reread that. I'll just let Amar take it from here. Amar Varma.
All right. Thanks. So, I don't need a mic, but I'm mic'd up just for the camera, so don't feel like there's anything here. So that's obviously my name. I run a firm called Extreme Venture Partners. I'm also an alumni of the University of Waterloo, as you can tell. If you ever want to get in contact with me, this is an email I will receive and respond to pretty quickly. So just before we get going, I thought I'd get some background from you guys on, I'll kind of pick on a couple of you in the crowd. I've spoken a few times. Some familiar faces, but lots of new ones. And I always try and make it interactive and open. I provide a bit of structure, but always try and get some dialogue going so people can ask questions and give comments. So maybe, since one of you guys in the front row, you were the first one here. So why are you in this Velocity program? What's it mean to you? What do you want to get out of it? And give your name and let everyone know who you are. Sure.
Like, my name is Alpi Clemencio. I'm in Velocity because I want to meet a lot of people who are involved in business, and I also want to get the sort of view of what's going on in the sort of entrepreneurial community to keep my eyes open for any other opportunities. Like I am doing my own kind of business right now, but I also want to keep informed of what's going on around me. So that's why I'm here, and also I'm looking for a good business person to be partnered up with.
Okay, and then I can pick somebody in the back. So either you in the Nike hat or the red sweater. Go ahead.
All right, I'm Matt. Well, I think I met most of you guys. So why am I here in Velocity?
Sure.
Well, I thought it was really an interesting project, and sort of to be here in the formative years is really interesting, and sort of to trying to, I guess, set that culture and sort of see where this might be heading, or sort of almost be able to set where it's heading is really an interesting idea. And like before, for 3 years, I've sort of been on campus, and sort of try and link with that outside community that we have in Waterloo is really an interesting idea.
So here's a fourth-year student. Your lucky day. So why are we here? So the university selected you guys as an elite trooper crew of people who they think can do wonderful things in an entrepreneurship type environment. I'm not exactly sure. I think you guys all live in the same dorm. Is that a correct statement? So yes. You'll become best of friends, I believe, in the next couple of weeks. So really, I'm here to learn from you guys. You know, truth be told, I may be a bit older than you. I may know a few things or two, but really, I'm going to teach you some things today, but I'll probably learn more from you guys than you'll learn from me. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. So who am I? Well, I kind of use these logos. Obviously, I'm an alumni. Anybody here in the electrical and computer engineering department? You can go find out what year I graduated in the fourth year room and keep going back in time as you think. I also graduated from something called the Natural Venture Capital Association. So this is the only school to learn about venture capital, and I won't go into it. It's a long thing. It's kind of neat. You can look it up. But really what we're here to talk about today are these two entities and how they can help you and how you can leverage them. So this is a venture firm that I started last year. And because we have lots of spare time and nobody sleeps anymore, we also started this company called Extreme Labs. I think Dan's not here. Anybody know Dan Lichty? No, you haven't got to know him? He's, I believe, in your dorm. He worked with us this summer, and we'll go through some of the stuff that he did. So what have I done in work? You know, I could sit here and talk to you about all sorts of great things and cool things. I'm a technology person. I left the University of Waterloo, moved to Silicon Valley in California, worked at a number of these companies. I won't bore you with the details, but that's me in a snapshot. And what have I done? So I've obviously am now a venture capitalist, but I was an engineer, did lots of engineering work, did lots of marketing work in technology. And I've also done a series of investments in investors. So who have I worked with? And this is just to give you a sense of what I've done. So if anybody knows anything about venture capital, they've obviously heard of Sequoia. They funded a couple companies that you may know called Yahoo and this other company called Google. Founders Fund and Excel Partners are the investors in a company that you guys may know of called Facebook. So these are kinds of people that we've invested with. And some of the companies that we've done that you may understand or may know, a company called Sandvine, which is just down the street that went public a couple years ago. So you guys may know people there, may know or may not have heard of it. Quake Semiconductor is a company that was sold. Lava Life, one of my favorite investments ever, was an online dating site which has only gotten bigger since we were involved. And actually, just a couple of these things, just to keep you in mind, this is BumpTop. I'm not sure if anybody's seen BumpTop. It's a 3D user interface for computers. It was a graduate master's thesis at the University of Toronto by a gentleman named Anand Agarwal. And we've now taken that project out of school, created a company with it, and moved it forward. Another company worth mentioning is J2 Play. That is a company local here. Check it out. Who here is not on Facebook? Are you on MySpace?
No.
Bebo?
No.
High Five?
No.
Are you on the internet? Oh, you're on MSN? Hey, this company is really interesting because it connects all of those worlds into one world for gameplay. So if anybody's on Facebook and looks it up, do a search for J2 Play, try and play some of the games. And the games are okay, but really the concept of what they're doing is they're bringing all the social networks together to play games at the same time. So if I'm on MySpace, I can play you on Facebook in a game of poker while somebody's on their BlackBerry also playing with us. So it's pretty exciting, pretty neat. That's a company local to you. You should check it out. I'm sure they have lots of postings for jobs and stuff as time evolves. So this is you now. You've made it here. You've been picked. I get invited to speak mostly at business schools across the country and talk a lot about business, but I always get excited coming back to Waterloo because I went here. But more importantly, there's usually people who are probably of the science and engineering backgrounds. Anybody here not in science or engineering? Oh, good number. So give me a sample set. Where are people from?
Math and business.
So some math, okay. So anybody not math, science, or engineering?
Accounting and finance.
Accounting, finance?
Go for it. Economics.
Economics?
Legal studies and sociology.
Okay.
Psychology.
Sorry?
Psychology.
Psychology, cool, okay. Well, psychology plays a big part in this whole thing. So now what? So I was here last year, or I think it was at the Impact Conference last year, talking about, hey, you should really get into this entrepreneurship thing. It's really fun. You should take some time to think about it. You guys, for whoever was there last time, you've now taken that advice and you're here. Now what do you do? And that's really what this is all focused around today. And I'll give you my perspective on what I think can be done and how we can all have some fun together. So I'm not sure the graphics turned out so well when I pulled them off the net this morning, but this is a mock of the evolution of man. But it's also kind of a satire on, this is the evolution of your life. You start out as a youngster. It's not really a baby, it's a monkey, but you'll understand that over time you'll mature, you'll grow, and then you'll get old like our parents or grandparents. So timing in life is really important. I always speak to, hey, it took me more than 2 months to start my own company after I finished school, significantly longer than that. I always wanted to start my own company, and that was something that people always ask, hey, how did you end up where you were, what you're doing? And it was always a vision of I wanted to work with people who were smarter than me. And that worked for a few years. And then I realized, hey, there's a lot of really smart people out there. I'll be working for somebody my whole life. So I was like, hey, then I turned to really wanting to do something for myself and see if I could start something. So my point in this is, anybody here married? Kids? How much sleep? How much free time and sleep do you get at night? Yeah, exactly. You guys are in the perfect position as you'll find out as you get older. Take my word for it, take his word for it. You have the most free time you're ever going to have in your life, even though you feel like you're scrambling in school. A couple other things is you also have the least amount of financial responsibility in your life because you're in the phase of spending. So those are probably lessons your parents want to teach you, and I never listened to my parents because I was like, hey, I'll go find out for myself. Listen to your parents, listen to me on this one. You're in the best opportunity now to do something and move it forward. And anybody's got any questions at any time, feel free to ask. Okay, everybody's paying attention. So why now? I always talk about the evolution of technology here. So who's heard of something called Amazon Web Services? So what is Amazon Web Services in the back?
Isn't just APIs that you can use to leverage Amazon's infrastructure?
Correct. So what that really means in English is I can now go buy a gig of storage a month for 10 cents. 10 years ago, a gig drive was how much? A couple $100, maybe $1,000. It was expensive. How much is an instance of a CPU on Amazon Web Services? 10 cents an hour. So for a computer, you can get a computer for $2.40 a day. And it's not just a piddly laptop, it's a massive server. So now this infrastructure of computing is there, it's free. Just to give you an analogy, eBay, which you guys probably know and use, raised $25 million to create infrastructure to scale their user base. How much would that cost now? Well, look at YouTube. YouTube raised $3 million. And they did all that in their garage. So you'll get a sense as to things are different now. So I talk about now, and you would understand this as to why now. This was my 4th year project. Actually, I'll pick on you. What year of engineering are you in?
Second year.
Second? So this is mumbo jumbo to you, right?
Yeah.
Anybody have a guess what this is? No, definitely not. Okay, it's a circuit diagram. What is this? This was my 4th year project. So we didn't have 4th year projects back then, but this was one of my 4th year courses. It was ENCE 437 with Busco Lung, if you're ever interested in taking it. He's a fun guy. This is a memory cell in a schematic of transistors. You'll learn about transistor next year, I think. So, what does it do? It stores a bit. What is a bit? It's a 0 or a 1. Let's contrast that with this week's announcement from Apple. What did Apple release this week? Yeah, and what's the biggest memory size on an iPod that just got released? I think it was 32 gigabytes. So you can understand that that is 256 billion times bigger than what I did in my 4th year project. This is what I had to create. This is what exists today. So you should understand things like Amazon Web Services, things like this discrepancy in technology really outline what is at hand for you guys. And I'll get through some specific projects that I think you'll find interesting. So let's pick on some people here. So Facebook, as we all know, is the 5th most visited internet site. I think it's 5. I don't know if anybody's got the Alexa ranking. But this guy is 24. Is that right? And this website is the largest instantiation of PHP written by people your age. Who here is not 20? Okay, who here is not 18? So everybody's 19. Okay. You're older than 20. So what's interesting really about this is this wasn't written by my generation. My best friend happens to be a classmate of mine from school here, happens to be the VP of marketing at this company. He's the oldest guy there. I'll give you a sense of how young and how quick these things move. You guys have lots of exciting opportunities as students. This project was started as a PhD project out of Stanford. Same with Google. This was obviously started as a project out of Stanford. Anybody know what this company is? Looks like Pac-Man, doesn't it? It's not Namco. This is an architecture of a company called RapidMind. The guy is local here. This company's in Waterloo. The guy is 25. And this is years and years of PhD research that he figured out at the age of 25. And you guys being local to other companies have a lot of advantages, inherent advantages of support, knowledge, infrastructure, ecosystem. Who doesn't have one of these? So some of you have them. Guy in my class, when I started in 1st year, quit after his 1st year, joined this small little tiny company on Phillip Street, and was actually one of the first hardware designers for this company. So you never know what's going on. There's lots of good stuff going on locally and lots of exciting things that you as people in your early 20s and 19-year-olds can actually take advantage and do interesting things of. Does anybody have another example I could have used up here? No? Okay.
Serious business.
Sure. Why?
There are 2 guys who created a Facebook application that has $3 million run rate a year. That's a capital gain.
It's not a bad business, is it?
Yeah.
Let's use a case study. So I spoke at, I think, Impact's conference last year, which is run by some of the people who work with and for these guys. They were a bunch of 4th year students, and they're like, hey, we want to do something cool. I'm like, hey, go start a company. I kind of threw that down as a salvo, and by that was November of 2007, by March of 2008, they had a product, they had an application, and they had a customer paying for their product. That's 5 months, one of which was a Christmas holiday. So really 4 months of effort got them a product, got them a company. These guys have now, when they graduated, came to my office, spent May, June, and July in my office, have grown their company from the 5 guys you see there, which I guess it didn't come out so well. And Ray, who I believe runs Velocity, is that's how I met Ray. They're now 20 people. And they graduated in May. So May, June, July, August, September. Less than 5 more months. They've gone off and quadrupled their team size. They have a lot of customers and a lot of traction. Think you guys can do something like that? Story excite you? Who's not excited by that story? Okay. Anybody know these guys? How do you know them?
I know Kunal from Impact.
Okay.
I know Carlo,
How do you know Carlo?
econ student.
Okay.
I partied before I'm in Japan.
Okay. So I always kind of say, well, okay, well, give me the reality and the goods of, hey, I'm really young, I've just started school, or I'm just in school, I've got a bit of chops in coding, what can I do? So I hired a series of co-op students this summer to work with us. And the iPhone App Store, as some of you know, anybody doesn't know what the iPhone App Store is? Okay, so everybody knows it. Who doesn't have an iPod or an iPhone? Okay. Cool. Okay, so we'll go into it. So basically, I'll give you some statistics. So Research in Motion has been around for a long time. And the number of BlackBerries that are in service, I believe, is about 15 million. I haven't gone on their latest quarterly call. I think cumulative over life, they've got 30 million units that they've sold. Apple launched their iPhone in July 1st of 2007. So in about a year and a bit, now has 12 million units that they've sold, not to include the tens of millions of iPod Touches that have been sold that can access the iPhone store. So I think last week they announced 100 million applications have been downloaded off the iTunes store. It's 100 million. That's massive. I don't know how many have been downloaded from the Apple Store or the RIM store. Well, the answer is 0 because there is no RIM store, right? So I wanted to understand this platform in more detail. So I hired a co-op student to work on this platform. And his name is Sergey Filimonov. He's in the software engineering program. He's in his 2A term. And he created this application. What does it do? It measures your download speed and your upload speed of your network connection, whether it's Wi-Fi or 3G or Edge. Does anybody understand the alphabet soup I just went through on Wi-Fi, 3G, and Edge? Anybody not understand the terms? Edge, okay, so you guys have probably never seen Edge. So basically in your phone, there's a voice connection and there's a data connection. Edge was the latest speed for voice connections, but is now superseded by 3G. So what happens is when you go to some spots that are older, you don't get 3G connections, you get Edge connections. So he created this application. How long do you think it took him? Mr. Google, tell us, how long did it take him?
Probably a weekend.
Weekend? Wasn't that quick. So you had to pipe clean the whole process of getting the signing keys, creating the project, getting Xcode up and running, which are
So this is
from scratch.
Judging by how long it took me to get my developer's license up, I would say like 4 months. Probably more realistically, no more than a month.
Took him a week. He obviously had help because I was there and we have a bunch of good people that can help him and stuff. But it took him a week to get the whole thing from scratch up and running. He started on Monday, he showed me on Friday the first version of this thing. So since he's done this, and this was, I think it was July 23rd where he started. So I think by the end of July he finished. So August and half of September almost, this thing's been run 1.5 million times. And we have data now from 63 countries of 3G and Wi-Fi information of people on iPhones. It's pretty cool, right? Guy was in his first work term. He's like, hey, what am I going to do? That's what he did in his first work term.
So you keep the data?
Yeah, so iPhone users all submit data when they do functions on the iPhone. And of course, we ask them for all the information too. So why do I have Apple written up here? So who knows why Apple called us? Anybody have any ideas? What happened to Apple on August 21st?
I think we started getting complaints of the 3G
Precisely. The complaints came in the form of a class action lawsuit from this massive law firm that wins lots of money for people. Further to that, we've gotten lots of feedback from users saying, hey, my network speed is slow. How do I get money back from my carrier? So carriers around the world, such as Orange, Singapore Telecom, Rogers, AT&T have been on our case because they're like, hey, people are using your application to tell me that my access is too slow for iPhone, and we don't want to be part of this class action lawsuit. So Apple called us last week saying, hey, what is your application doing? This is technology developed by somebody who was 19 at the time, and is still 19. Turned 19, I think, while he was doing it. And it's caused a stir in front of a, I don't know what market cap Apple has, it's an $80 or $100 billion company. So you think you can have an impact at the age of 19? There it is. Does anybody know Sergey? He's a bartender on campus. You should go find him. He's got a ponytail and stuff. So this is the kind of person that we're able to show tangible projects at the age of 19 that can get done. Let's take a look at another project. So we had another co-op student work with us, Dan, who none of you know, who I think lives in your residence, so you should get to know Dan. He created something called traffic cams. So what does traffic cams do? Well, it's really a map mashup that gives you a bunch of camera feeds from government agencies and shows you the current view of traffic. So this was Highway 401 near Weston Road yesterday morning, and you can see exactly what the traffic is. What's the date on there? I think it's at 8 o'clock or something like that. This application was looks pretty simple, right? This one was a bit more complicated. Why? Anybody have any idea why? Okay, that's GPS is one. What were you saying?
Getting access to the cams.
2. Anything else?
Isn't there difficulty with video with GPS?
3. Anything else? There's a 4th one, and so what is inherently this canvas on the background? It's a map. So on your browser, you're able to take Google Maps and you can put a feed on it and mash it up. Correct? Has anybody done that? Anybody done a project like that, like their running route or something like that? Okay, I did. It was pretty fun. You can't do that on the iPhone because Google doesn't let you share the API for the application, and Apple doesn't want it either. So what did Dan have to do at the age of 19? I think it was his birthday this summer as well. He had to create his own tiling map application for the iPhone. So now we've created an infrastructure for tiling maps on the iPhone that we've now open sourced, and the whole world is free to use it. Guy's 19. Just turned 19, I think, the week he was doing it. So this is a bit more involved project, but you can get the sense that these are projects that have an impact.
Out of curiosity's sake, how are you getting by Apple's ridiculous licensing their agreements about software on the iPhone and the inability to actually share what you've written?
Well, I think Apple's going to call us again on this open source thing. Hey, you're violating our terms of service, and I'm more than happy to have that call with them.
Yeah, for sure. I was just curious if you...
I think we know we're stepping over a line we shouldn't be stepping over on purpose. So sorry?
So download the code now.
Yeah, get it soon. So this is awaiting approval in the App Store right now. And we initially started with, this is obviously a Toronto camera, but now we have 5,000 cameras across the world. So we went and did a search for all the publicly listed cameras across the world, and we have 5,000. So I think we have like Europe, there's some Asian cameras. The most interesting one is there's one in Spain that's like on a beach, and you can see things going back and forth. It's kind of cool. So this is the second example. So I've given you a case study of the Polar Mobile team who came from a room just much like this that's now grown to be a 20-person company. I've given you an example of people who've worked with me over a summer or over a couple weeks over a summer to create applications that have a serious impact in life. I want you guys to start thinking about, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. Because I think you guys are handpicked for a reason to be able to do stuff like this. So take action. So I always talk about the take action. You know, I was on this side of the table many eons ago, and I was like, hey, that sounds really good. How do I do something about it? How do I make it happen? Well, first take ownership for the actions that only you can really make something happen for yourself. You know, somebody's not going to come along and say, hey, nice to know you, you're a really nice person, let's go do this really great opportunity, because that just doesn't happen in life. And then secondly, I always talk about the risk factor. You know, being married with kids, there's obviously much more risk in taking a gamble on starting a company than there are when you're a student in school. It may not seem obvious to you. Just log that and say, okay, I better take this for as is, and I'll learn over time. Some of the other things that I think are important here, does anybody have an idea that they came to Velocity with that they are thinking about doing? What is it?
It's just a yes or no question? Or?
Well, what is it?
Well,
Beyond RoboCop.
it's actually
A RoboCafe, sorry.
Because a friend and I kind of, he came up with the primary idea and I was curious, you say take action. If it doesn't seem like he's ever going to implement this idea, but I personally think that it's really good, do you think it's reasonable to just go ahead and do it anyway? Even though he is the one who primarily came up with the idea, and then just kind of leave him behind because he clearly does not know what's going on.
So I'll give you some free advice. Always do what you think is right.
Right?
So by you asking me, clearly you have some hesitations in just doing it.
Yeah.
So you should have a conversation with the guy.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm just looking for external counsel.
We can talk later. Anybody else had an idea? So there's a couple other hands. Somebody back. Go ahead.
Yeah. My idea was a visual novel. It's like a choose-your-own adventure comic on the computer, or potentially on the iPhone. Now that I'm thinking about it some more, so that's my idea.
Somebody else had their hand up.
My idea is basically to allow anyone to be a media creator and then create personalized media channels for anyone to watch or view or do.
Mm-hmm. Lots of good innovation going on in that space right now. Nobody's really a winner yet, so you've really got a good opportunity to go do something. So what do you do now? You have the idea. Ideas are a dime a dozen. I give you 10 ideas, but I'll beat you to it every time. Why? What can you do to change that?
What do you mean?
Everybody's got a good idea. Now what do you do? How do you take the idea and move it forward?
I have a prototype created. That's what you mean.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Then what?
You mean how will I expand in the future?
Uh-huh.
I want to allow anyone to be an advertiser as well.
Uh-huh.
So that brings money into the game, and not only gets the content producers to make money off their content, because right now it's really hard to monetize internet media. So it allows them to get money for their content, and allows me to take a cut of that advertising
Cool.
money and come this out.
Give this guy a hand. That's an actual business plan and a prototype and a product. There was one other hand somewhere. No? Okay, I'm seeing things now. I don't know what the next slide is. Hold on. Okay, so this is a picture of Uhuru Peak. Where's Uhuru Peak? Anybody know? Uhuru Peak's the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. People say a lot of things you learn, a lot of things you can do by climbing to the top of a mountain. It's a lot of cliche stuff. I happened to climb to the top of this mountain in 2004, and man, a lot of it is true. You want to get to the top of a place like this, it is a long and lonely journey. Though you have people helping you, you are battling yourself day in, day out to make it. A lot of it is not physical strength, but a lot of it is mental strength. You get pushed, you get challenged. You know, some people don't adjust, some people can't adjust. It's that ability to beat adversity that really allows people to succeed versus the other person. So as you're going through this journey of trying to figure things out, I think there's a couple of important things. So obviously the journey's lonely. So what do you need to do? You need to find peers that can help you with something, because I guarantee you having 2 people working on something is better than 1. So feel free to, I think you'll be networking with all your friends and stuff over the next couple months, but don't be shy to talk to people about things. Don't be shy about anything, because this is something that I've learned along the way, which is why I have a business partner, and I think it's actually worked out really well for us. And the other thing I encourage you guys to do through this program, because you're going to get lots of exposure to good people, is to find mentors. Find people who can help you. Find people that you look up to. They don't have to be CEO of RIM. They could be somebody a year ahead of you at school. They could be somebody 5 years ahead of you at school. They could be somebody who's working. It could be anybody you probably met last night at the keynote dinner. Always look to find those people, because those are the people that are going to help you get through areas of your life, your career that they've been through, and they won't tell you how to do things. They'll give you their advice and their path, and they can give you their 2 cents. And really, it's worth 2 cents because you've got to take it and do something with it. So another thing that I always talk about is, I think when I was in school, I always felt like I needed an outlet for stuff. So I happened to play on the volleyball team, and happened to know him because he was on the basketball team, and he was the basketball team, if everybody was. What was your average points per game?
It's on, you can Google it, I don't want
Can we look it up right now?
You could if you want.
We'll look it up before we leave here.
Actually, I don't have my photos up there from like 93, when I had hair. Actually, my hair just grew from here down. Anyway.
So I think it was like 20 something points a game or something, which is like pretty ridiculous. And there were games where you used to score like 35, 40, it was crazy. So anyways, so you always need an outlet in life to do other things. So, I happen to play sports. What I do now, I have a weekly routine where I get things done. Like on a Saturday morning, I'll try and get up early. And I take a yoga class. That's where I can think and clear my head, and that's not because it's cliche. It's actually, I enjoy it. I like doing it. Doesn't matter what you do, play an instrument, go to dinner, do whatever, go to a movie, be a movie buff. Like, there's something else you'll need to have as you traverse this path of really getting into entrepreneurship, doing a business that's not behind a Fortune 500 company name. There's always got to be an outlet, because if you don't have that outlet, things start to percolate, they start to boil over, and at some point, what happens when the covered pot boils too much? The whole thing blows up, and that's the last thing you want to have happen, especially in a fragile ecosystem that you'll be working in. Does anybody have any outlets that they have that they want to share with the group that they think are valuable? Tell us a bit about it. What do you do? What do you do? Do you take people pictures, bird pictures, tree pictures?
Yeah, I like to just like different aspects of what's going on around me. It lets me understand it better. And then I just remove what I'm feeling, and like stop thinking, and just start just looking around and snapping things and stopping things.
Cool. And how often do you do that? Once a month, once a year, twice a day?
It depends on how much I need it. But,
That's fine.
I would say almost once a week.
Good. Anybody else have anything that they do every week? Once every so often?
Girls.
Girls. Hey, there you go. I won't ask you to describe what's going on. So, anybody else have any outlets?
Playing first-person shooters online against other people.
Okay. What does that do for you?
For me, just like I play Call of Duty 4, lets me think a little bit tactically. Like, okay, this guy's doing this, he's conquering this area. How can he get around? It lets me think, lets me get my aggression out, and also my whole strategy of going around and knifing people really fast.
You're going to master it velocity.
Okay. Anybody else want to share his story?
Lock your doors.
Well, I play music. It's kind of different because it really takes you away from all the conventional work and the conventional kind of life that you do.
Uh-huh.
Like when you play music, the world just goes away and you can just focus on something you really like.
Maybe read at night or during the day once.
Anybody what?
Maybe read books.
Oh.
That's a good outlet. What's the recent books you've been reading?
I read a lot of fiction.
Yeah.
Right now I'm reading Julio Cortázar, Hopscotch. I just
Cool.
started it.
And what does that do for your mind?
It basically, I don't have to think about what's going on in my life for the 2 hours that I read.
Okay.
I'm more immersed in the story than stuff around me.
Okay. You too? What books have you read recently?
Actually reading Pride and Prejudice right now for the millionth time.
Is that like a really big book?
No.
No? Okay.
But same kind of deal. It's like, it just brings you out of what's going on and zeroing on something new. That or listen to music.
Okay. Listen to music, okay.
Book right now by a Starbucks CEO and how you got Starbucks sold out and entire chain and have an enormous growth in a short period of time. So it's really interesting.
Okay. Those are the kinds of books that I happen to read. I've been told they're exciting, and it's kind of a cliche, but you learn a lot from those books, especially if you want to be in the business world. It's not that you'll become that person, but you'll learn over time that you'll work with people who have good facets to the way they deal with people, the way they think about problems, the way they handle adversity. And you'll want to, over time, take the best that you've learned from everybody and create your own tool set with their tools that were really good and polish them with your own flavor.
So what's your favorite startup book?
My favorite startup book? I've been working at a company called Cypress Semiconductor, and there was a book written by T.J. Rogers, who's their CEO, who's quite outspoken. You'll see him in the New York Times a lot. And he has a book called No Excuses Management. And it is probably one of the most simple, logical things that I've ever read. I was like, of course, after reading it. And then I was like, wow, that was actually quite complicated. But that was probably my favorite book that I've read about a startup. Anybody else?
Jogging. Like
Jogging?
Exercise, it's very mind-numbing. You feel refreshed after.
Yeah, good. So it sounds like a lot of you already have these ingredients, and these are things that you should take with you and hold near and dear. They may suffer at times, but something that you should constantly give yourself effort and time to do. So kind of in a last slide, in a summary, I always say seize the opportunity. You guys have obviously gotten a lot through a lot of filters. You're here today, and now really your opportunity is now going forward to do what you've been doing and make it better. So if it's meeting more people, finding mentors, pursuing your idea further past a prototype. If it's working on something you weren't sure you would be good fit for, but you think you can do. I've showed you guys who turned 19 this summer that were able to take something brand new and create something pretty compelling. So I don't think you should fear any of the opportunities that are in front of you. Secondly, I have this kind of have no regrets policy. So if you do something, take ownership for it, and don't ever regret that you did it or didn't do it, because living life with a regret of not doing something can grow on you and can become a big deal. And it can kind of irk at you at the inside, and that's something when you're focused on an entrepreneur and an entrepreneurship and a concept of a business and an idea, you can't have things gnawing at you because you're so focused on getting something done. And finally, aim for the top. You guys are in the top school, you're in this top program on campus. You should really be searching to do things that are the best, are the top. This is the kind of program that I never had access to. And you saw my fourth year project, it was pretty sad. And you now have an opportunity in weeks and months. I showed you stuff that took weeks. Now you have months together to actually create something that has meaningful impact on you and meaningful impact on others. And that's really what the Catalyst for Change and Opportunity is all about.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
What kind of advice do you have to people who are, I guess, almost just beginning their degree
Uh-huh.
and who don't have the intention of dropping out of school but who also want to start up their business? Especially since lots of funding, like the Canadian Youth, BF, you need to be either part-time student or not a student to access that funding, and just it seems almost.
What program are you in?
Nano.
So it's an engineering program?
Yeah, that's fine.
So you can't do that part-time anyways, can you? You can't do engineering part-time, can you? Yeah, so I have a very strong stay in school mantra, probably because when I was growing up, all the NBA stars told me to stay in school. And I was like, okay, stay in school. And I would encourage you to finish school. I think you have the ability and the tools with some of the stuff that I've shown you to get a lot of stuff done while you're in school. You have a co-op program?
Yeah. Yes.
Have you applied to our company yet? Because we get a bunch of nano engineering students applying, and I can never figure out why. Take a co-op term and do something, right? Like those are opportunities too, right? You've got, what year are you in? Second. So you've got 5 more co-op terms, which is 5 times 4 months, 20 months to. 3? Oh, okay. Nano's different. Okay.
2 4-month and 2 8-month.
Oh, even better. Genius.
Amar, there's also when we were here, there wasn't the enterprise co-op program as well, where the co-op term is to actually do startup.
Cool. So I'm going to make couple of commitments in person on film, because I know this is being recorded, so you can take this down. So this is a message to Ray. You know, I think you're doing some wonderful stuff here, and I'm committing to spend my time, my resources, my expertise to provide more hands-on experience beyond talking on a Saturday morning, because this is fun and all, but this doesn't get you forward. So that's the other thing. And then the other thing that I'll make a commitment to you guys, if you guys do have an opportunity, do have an idea, I have an office waiting for people who want to start the company in May, or kind of like the Polar Mobile guys did. I have office space for you, and I have a $25,000 check to some projects that I think are worthy for funding them. So if you're really serious about it, we've got serious money to get behind you, and we've got serious resources, timing, and opportunity to do it. So that's the commitment I'm making to you guys. And so if you thought, hey, where could this Velocity program lead you to? I've just given you a path if you can really succeed and be the top out of this thing. Finally, I will talk a bit about, if you're not sure what to do, I don't know, is Velocity a 4-month thing for everybody? Okay, and then they go.
They can reapply as long as they're EW students.
So as long as you can come back. I hire a ton of co-op students every term in our company called Extreme Labs, with its XTREME Labs. I think our posting goes up soon. So if you're interested in any of the mobile and internet software stuff that I've shown you, apply, take a look. We've got Dan, who's, again, somebody you guys don't know yet, but who works with us, and you can ask him what we do and how we work, because he'll be back in the winter. And I don't know, I'm really excited by what you guys have, because I never had the opportunity to do it, and I'm always excited that somebody can accomplish something that I couldn't do.
Can you tell us a bit about what you look for in a startup? So when somebody strolls in your office with an idea, what exactly do you care about? Do you want to see a business plan? Do you want to see...
Ha, ha, ha. Okay. We have access to the internet, right?
Should, yeah.
Yeah, and how much time do we have here?
We got 10 minutes or so.
10 minutes or so, okay. So when I go to the business schools, I usually talk about what it's like and what to look for in entrepreneurs that you want to invest in. And there's a couple of videos that I show, and they're all on YouTube, so you can write this down. One's the Snowman Ventures video. This may be worth 5 minutes just to show you some stuff. You've seen it? Why don't you describe what it is?
So basically, it's a snowman that becomes a VC, and there's all these cliche questions that VCs get asked and that they ask. So one of them is, have you thought about India and China? How much traction have you had? It's just very cliche and very funny.
Do you need a login for the wireless?
A lot of people wonder why I bother to pursue new things. They think the success I had marketing my snowman kit should be enough. After all, my invention of the snowman allowed me to build a hugely successful business. And with the help of the guys at Blueprint Ventures, I was able to...
She used to be my boss.
all over the world, and the lifestyle has had its perks. But as an entrepreneur, I not only play hard, I work hard. Too hard. And I'm tired of it. So I'm going into venture capital. And I think I have a good idea of what life as a VC will be like. So, in closing... Hello? Yes. No. No. Yes.
This round of funding will take us to break even, and our investors will see a great return.
It's Dan. Potato, potato. Anyway, wasn't listening to what you said, but I don't like it. In summary, I'd suggest you replace your CEO, refocus your go-to-market strategy, and ask yourself, what about India and China? Tell them to replace the CEO. Ask him about India and China. I'm gonna be laughing. They already replaced the CEO. And they had an answer on India and China? Then tell them we're somewhat interested, but need to know who else is interested before we know if we're really interested. I don't care if the yacht club won't allow me to have a yacht that big, Shelley. Make it happen. And make sure my house in Aspen is bigger than Ted's. Too hot.
So,
Yes, it's gonna be great. Life as a VC isn't exactly what I expected. Yes, Shelley?
I have your itinerary for your trip. You have a 6:30 a.m. to Boston, an 8 p.m. to Minneapolis, a 10 a.m. to Chicago, and a 2 p.m. to New York. And business class is too pricey, so you're going all coach.
Thank you, Shelley. Yes, it's been a hard year, chasing Web 2.0 and social networking deals, and I'll tell you, Sarbanes,
so this is an example of the VC's perspective on what they look at entrepreneurs. It's a bit of a satire and hyperbole, but it's not far from the truth. That's the reason this video has been so popular. I will now show you a 1-minute, 30-second clip from another video from the entrepreneur's perspective of what makes a good idea or good venture. So let me just pull it up, and I'll tell you about some of the criteria that we use, and you can understand why this is just such a genius thing that somebody who we all know and like came up with. So you asked the question, what do we look for, right? And really, what do we look for? We look for people is always the first thing we look at. Can this person be resilient? Can this person make it through? Or any investment that goes into a company is always on the people. Can they make, they're not only your insurance policy, they're the horse you're galloping to actually create something of value. Then is really the market opportunity. Because if you have a good team and you have a decent market opportunity, take a look at the Polar guys. It's a great example of a team that is able to navigate a really complicated infrastructure and ecosystem and actually be successful at it, right? Where they started off with their idea, has come a long way and has merged and iterated a few times to be successful in the industry. And I think we're ready. And just think about these things as yep. Okay.
That makes the ice cream not go on your hands and make it all well.
Our best friend Ali G did a satire on raising some money from venture capitalists. Here's a great idea. The ice cream glove. I need an ice cream glove. Who's seen this video? Okay. That's the ice cream glove.
Do you want me to eat this? No. Oh, okay. What's my idea? Lay it on me.
That's a C, which means that you can't nick it. You've seen one of these things before. Everyone at school learns these things.
Venn diagram.
You asked about business plan and market sizing. This is a great example of how to do it. Wrong product, wrong person, but great idea.
People who like ice cream. People who has hands. It's like target market. You did an internet search for ice cream. You come back with 6,121 result. You did an internet search for the glove. How much result did you get? 325, 0, 113. So you times those together. What does you get? This is just people on the internet looking in. 203 zillion, whatever, 496,400. Those people bought one glove at $19.99. Right. Just one glove. Business would be worth. Wait for it. Oh, wait. Such a big number. Couldn't fit it that way. That is $34.6. How does we promote this company?
Okay.
We promote it.
We won't go into this. But you get the sense that there are a lot of cliche things that you can read in a book the best reference I can give you is from Guy Kawasaki. He was one of the initial Mac architects at Apple. He has a 10, 20, and 30 rule. And if you can read his 10, 20, and 30 rule, you'll understand exactly what it takes to pitch a venture capital firm for money. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to gut intuition and resilience. But I'll just describe the 10, 20, 30 rule on a pitch. Your slide deck should be no more than 10 slides. It should take no more than 20 minutes, and it should be no smaller than 30 font. I may have, yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the investment pitch deck that you'll need. Business plans and all those things are important as an exercise to make sure you have a sense of the direction you're going to. But keep in mind that every business plan that gets funded gets iterated and changed multiple times between getting started and the final product that it ends up being. So that's all I had to present and discuss today. But if there are any questions, follow up, I think we got a few minutes here to talk about a few things, things that you're interested in. If you want to apply to our jobs, not trying to pitch, let's have just an open session and talk about a few things.
Which VC firms do you admire?
The ones that make lots of money, to be honest. That's the only metric of the game for venture capitalists. You can talk about all sorts of other things, but that's the short answer.
So which firms do you admire?
Okay. So who's made the most money in the last few years? So the most money has been made by Sequoia, because they invested in a company called YouTube and a company called Google. Actually, it's funny. Sequoia was a co-investor of mine in a company called Synthesis in Toronto. And the pool of money that came into Synthesis was from the same pool of money that went into Google. So after Google went public, Synthesis was this company that I think we sold for a couple $100 million, big deal. They stopped showing up to all meetings. They're like, hey, I don't care what you do with this small little Synthesis company. No matter how well it does, the money we've made on Google will make this money so inconsequential it doesn't matter. I kind of admire those guys. So Founders Fund guys have been really successful too. So they, obviously they've got some hits under their belt. They were all the guys who did eBay. eBay sold for $3 billion or so to eBay, and they're obviously in Facebook. They're in a bunch of other big hit wins. I like them, but they've really focused on other stuff now. So Peter Thiel, who was the guy who started Founders Fund, is now a hedge fund manager and has made lots of money in the hedge fund world and lost $1 billion of it in August. So.
I guess we've heard a lot about how VCs are good, but what's the fine print with something's, I don't know if you want to talk to that.
When you leave school and enter the real world, you realize that everything has small print, fine print, and you probably realize that in school at some point, at some level.
Like how do you guys secure your investment? Like do you get not profit sharing, but preferred shares or
wow.
Are
you an economics student? That's a very.
Way too many VC presentations.
Okay. At the end of the day, you can, in the case where the company does really well, you're sharing the upside with the entrepreneurs because they are the ones who made it successful. It's not me, right? And in the case where it goes bad, the entrepreneur loses not only the money of the entrepreneur is important, obviously, but they've lost their reputation. As an entrepreneur, you've got to hit 100% or 1,000%. You can't miss. As a venture investor, I look really good. Sequoia looks really good when they hit 1 of 10 out of the park. So, there is always 5 print, but at the end of the day, if we're not friendly with the entrepreneur and working with the entrepreneur, we'll never be successful.
When pitching your idea to a venture capitalist, what are some good reasons to request capital, and what is some essential information that you should tell them so that they would invest?
So, nobody wants to invest money because they have money to throw around, right? You want to convince somebody that they're investing not only in a good opportunity, but at the start, they're investing in you. And you have an idea or a concept or a team and a prototype that is actually in an area that has lots of promise, lots of opportunity, and you're going to commit to it and be successful at it. And there's going to be, at the end of the day, you've got to convince them there's going to be a return on their money. So that for, economics are simple. Every investor wants to make 10 times their money, right? So that's kind of the investment criteria. And you've got to show them that there's a market opportunity, because if you can't show people that there's a market opportunity, no matter how good your prototype is, how good your ideas are, and how good your team are, they can't get excited about it. There's somebody else had their hand up here. Yeah?
What's
guys settle up and make your money in the end from a venture capitalist perspective? Like, what are you looking to gain, or when are you looking to gain it?
Yeah, so most investments, so Sandvine, let's use Sandvine as an example. Who doesn't know who Sandvine is? So everybody knows who they are? Okay, you don't know. So they're a company down the street, founded in 2001. Took them 5 years to go from concept to IPO. So you got to have the patience and the time for these businesses to mature. You know, a lot of the web and mobile applications that we get involved with, we're looking for traction probably in the first 12 to 18 months to be on a path. And then we probably got years 3 to 5 to wait for them to exit. And to be honest, no tech companies have gone public in the last 6 months, so it's all through an acquisition strategy. So.
Yeah, you mentioned that you're a big advocate for staying in school, but also that entrepreneurship put in 1,000%. You touched on this a little bit in your speech when you talking about balance, but how do you think that you strike that balance as a student and as an entrepreneur at the same time?
So it's all about focus, right? So yeah, obviously school's demanding. What program are you in?
Chemical engineer.
Sorry?
Chemical engineer.
It's probably, what, 30 hours a week of class? And then what's the rule, like 10 minutes for every hour of class of homework? Not exactly, huh? So that's demanding. I think you as somebody who has to focus is going to have to cut some things out, right? And by focusing, you'll realize of all the events you do in a week, you'll realize which ones are really important and which ones aren't. And that's the balance you're going to have to strike. Stay in school, well, you know what? You guys are, who's not in a co-op program? So everybody seemingly is in a co-op program whereby they have the chance to go learn real skills really on somebody else's dime, right? Like the money I pay in that is my own that I pay students to work on, right? So that's how you can gain a lot of real life skills and leverage those into your opportunity as well, right? If you're looking for a silver bullet, it's just focus. Like I don't have one really outside of focus, and you'll figure out what's important to you and what's not important to you. You may be wrong the first time, and you have to change a couple of things. So, anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Sold. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks very much, Amar,
for
sharing your wisdom with
thank
us
you.
today. It's always nice to have a Waterloo grad here who can come back and talk to
Appreciate it.
students.
Hey, thank
Thanks
you.
very much.
Thanks for the opportunity.